And, you know, you can play this on radio, but it upsets people, so I'm just not going to play that part. If you want to watch the full video, we'll give you the address if you want to go see it unedited from C-SPAN. Now, this happened a few years ago, but the point is, this is very popular, and this is pushed, and this is promoted, but he's got the same view, but from another perspective, as the globalists that want to reduce everybody's numbers. I mean, he's saying it's white people doing this. I'm going to break this down because it's just a great illustration. But back to population. Let's play the clip here of overpopulation, the making of a myth that goes with those other two clips we just played. And I want everybody to go to Infowars.com, where Kurt Nemo's got all three of the articles posted along with an article he wrote and all three of the videos, so you can send that to your friends and family who are brainwashed and think they should pay carbon taxes for every child they have. Not only does the government own your house, and now it says it owns your body, as they collectivize all of our wealth into their hands and all of our rights go out the window. But let's go ahead and go to this final clip.
The myth of overpopulation originated in England in 1798, when a vicar named Thomas Malthus, who fancied himself something of a mathematician, saw that food production increased incrementally, but people reproduced exponentially. He sat down and did some simple math, and summarily decided that the world would be out of food by 1890. He blamed reduced mortality rates, and recommended killing off the have-nots of society, lest the haves starve to death. This cry was taken up by Paul Ehrlich of Stanford University in 1968, who claimed that reckless human reproduction had overwhelmed the Earth. Massive famines would result, which would destroy, best-case scenario, 1/5 of humanity by the end of the 70s, and the planet would follow. This fear produced large donations for the newly created UNFPA, which thrives on an imagined crisis that has been both imminent and rescheduled again and again over the past 2 centuries. The truth of the matter is that every family on this planet could have a house with a yard and all live together on a landmass the size of Texas, which is really just a small corner of the planet. The population of Earth will peak in 30 years, start to go back down. We're not overpopulated. Do the math.
Now, they mentioned Paul Ehrlich in that, who co-wrote the book with John P. Holder and the White House science czar, calling for drugging the water supply to sterilize us. But they said you've got to do it incrementally so people don't notice that the fertility's dropping, but now it has. They are doing it. The government is taking your baby's blood at birth. I told you that over a decade ago. It's now mainstream news. It is put in the Cold Springs Harbor /UN eugenics database. The world government follows a religion of eugenics and extermination and social Darwinism. You better find out about it. And we covered it in my film, End Game, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. Because it just didn't get picked up by Paul Ehrlich. They had to be, simple in a minute and a half. Paul Ehrlich was a crypto-eugenicist, and so is the White House science czar, and so are all these people running this system. I mean, shifting gears now, I'm just going to play most of this 10-minute clip, because yesterday I tried to play it, ran out of time, and then I'm just going to comment after. I'm going to write notes and comment after. Because if I start commenting beforehand, it's just that everything this guy is saying is true, except he's saying white people magically are evil. No, human beings, people are people. Black African tribes enslaved black African tribes. Arab tribes have enslaved Arab tribes. Most of the Roman slaves were white. White people enslaving white people. Most of the immigrants to the U.S. before 1776 were indentured servants. I had some family came over as pilgrims on the Mayflower. I had other ancestors that came over as indentured servants, and you were just a sharecropper. You never got out of debt. You were basically a slave. So the media only tells you about black slavery because that's the way to play people off against each other. And when they bring in multiculturalism, it's all about differences to make us be at each other's throats instead of just moving on, not making it a big issue. Because tribalism is in all of us, via religion, via race, via, you name it. It's there. And now we have tribes of folks that have, I'm not saying they're bad, I'm just saying different tribes of cowboys and hip-hop people and tattoo tribes and motorcycle tribes. Those are the tribes of America. People are really into how they dress and how they talk and what they do. That's their identity. Well, my identity is liberty and freedom and science and exploration and protecting the innocent and working together. But the globalists, through the universities, It was the Ford Foundation and the federal government that funded the radical Chicano movement, saying the U.S. belongs to Mexico and that white people are evil. Why? They want to have us fighting with each other. You're not going to get your Aslan. It's delusional. It's to destroy the system of freedom that produced all this wealth. Hadn't been perfect, but what we're going into is tyranny. So this is social engineering. So when he talks about, he didn't get into the government creating AIDS. That's declassified. But he gets into how they're using medicine to kill people and how they're. But he says the white man wants to sell you cigarettes. No, the white man pulled up almost 600 years ago in Cuba and said, "Man, I like smoking this," and the natives were going, "Yeah, we like it too. It's really addictive." Cigars, baby. Now, I mean, the Chinese are selling cigarettes. The Japanese are selling them. There's African tobacco production. Blacks selling cigarettes to blacks. There are evil mafias in the Italian groups, in the WASP groups, in the black groups, in the Jewish groups. But when people say, well, all Italians are mafia, that's a fraud. Or when you say all whites are evil, that's a fraud. Or you say all blacks are criminals, that's a stereotype, a fraud. When you say all Jews, are running the banks in a New World Order. Well, there is a Jewish mafia involved in that, and we expose it. But it's not the only group, the only system. And that's why they have fake federal groups out there who've been caught, like Hal Turner and countless others, trying to radicalize the End the Fed movement to make it anti-Semitic so that we're divided again, and so we can't ever get the people together. They want us all fighting with each other. And so I oppose mafia, I oppose criminality. But there's mafia in Africa, there's mafia in Iran, there are cliques and good old boy clubs in England, in Israel. There's boss hog types in small towns. You'll have one town that's good and free because they've got good people in it that got involved and believe in freedom. You'll have a town next door, a county next door, totally thug run. And those counties always fall apart because everybody moves out of it that can. Okay, that's why the feds don't want states' rights. They don't want you to be able to run state to state for freedom. They don't want you having a choice. The global government doesn't want you to be able to run from country to country. They say this. They want taxes about 80% worldwide. They want everybody under their control. That's what the Euro's about. You heard Greg Palast, BBC, talk to one of the founders of the Euro. He admitted it's about not letting anybody have lower taxes, and it's about bankrupting nations to take control of them. It's a global economic order. It's a system. And the main reason white people have dominated this globe was language and was the fact that they were the last domino to fall to tyranny. I said I'm going to go to this clip, but there's just so much history I want to give you. Rome had fallen. Other empires had fallen because they become decadent. But some of the science survived through the Dark Ages. And you had the wild tribes of Britannia, Albion, Gaul, Germania, and other areas, and you had the trade system that had been set up by the Vikings, and all of that merged together in the last 1,000 years, and then it came out of the Dark Ages in the last 600, 500. You had the Renaissance, the Great Awakening, liberty, freedom, literature, Gutenberg's printing press, the greatest invention. It's rated as the greatest invention by man. That produced incredible wealth. It wasn't perfect, but the move towards liberty was the greatest humans had ever seen. Okay, that produced all this wealth, and then the tyranny moved back in to take over that wealth, and it was able to set up an empire. So that's why this happened. There have been other cultures. Africa had Egypt. It became decadent over 3,000 years and fell. Okay. If Egypt had its rise in the last 600, 700 years, you would have a global African dominant system. And that's an oversimplification. The point is that's why you see white people in so many positions. But those same white people are putting poisons in the vaccines for white people. They're putting fluoride in the water that gives you cancer and reduces fertility for everybody. So it's asinine. The average white person is a guilty person who thinks white people are evil and worships black people, okay? I'm white. I know. I'm around it. I'm sick of it, okay? I like black people. I like everybody else, but I haven't done anything wrong. I don't have any guilt. I'm not a white devil. I don't have a tail under here. I don't have horns. I'm not bad, okay? Now, there are groups of elitists Doesn't matter if they're Japanese, Jewish, German. They all have these meetings. They all agree on eugenics. My dad, had a professor at UT who was the head of the botany department who was Jewish, who was openly a eugenicist and said, well, Hitler, went too far. We don't need to target one group. We need to target dumb people. I mean, this transcends, okay? And as long as we say it's the white people or it's the black people or it's the Jews, one group, we're just going to be divided and fight with each other. It should be about ideas. But listen to this guy, because his crescendo is kill the white people. We'll play part of it, come back from break, and play the rest, ending the show with it. Here is this professor on C-SPAN, and the point is, this is a idea held by 5, 6, 7% or so of blacks in America. It's very popular. It's a minority, but it's popular, and it was funded by the government, and this is asinine baloney. He says all this stuff that's true, but then says the white man is the source of all evil. Baloney, okay? Okay? If you want to say the white man's the source of something, it's the, Gutenberg press.